In this podcast episode, Josh Szeps, an Australian journalist and podcast host, discusses the challenges faced by media organizations in maintaining objectivity and diversity in their content. He highlights the pressure on producers to ensure diversity in terms of ethnicity, gender, and sexuality, but neglecting ideological diversity. This leads to panels with individuals from diverse backgrounds, all expressing the same views, which defeats the purpose of true diversity. Josh shares his experience of working at the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, and how his critical views on certain topics, such as LGBTQ pride, were censored by management. This conflict between his desire to have uncomfortable conversations on his podcast and the risk-averse nature of the organization ultimately led to his departure from the ABC. The discussion shifts to the comparison between media organizations in Australia, the UK, and the US. Josh notes the differences in the cultural landscape of these countries, with the US being more polarized and intense, the UK having a stiff upper lip attitude, and Australia maintaining a more relaxed and consensus-driven approach. He emphasizes the importance of having a diverse range of voices in the media to foster meaningful conversations and avoid echo chambers. The conversation delves into the role of state-funded broadcasters like the BBC and the challenges they face in balancing objectivity with diverse viewpoints. Josh acknowledges the need for editorial oversight in news reporting to ensure accuracy and truthfulness. However, he also raises concerns about the content side of media organizations, where ideological biases can influence the narrative presented to the audience. Josh reflects on the changing landscape of media and the challenges faced by traditional news organizations in adapting to the digital age. He emphasizes the importance of maintaining a diverse range of voices and perspectives in media to foster critical thinking and open dialogue. Despite the challenges, Josh remains optimistic about the role of independent media in bringing attention to overlooked issues and pushing back against mainstream narratives. He does highlight the risk of independent media personalities veering into conspiratorial thinking or misinformation due to feedback from a vocal minority of their audience. He also mentions the influence of social media algorithms in shaping individuals' information consumption habits and reinforcing existing beliefs. Josh emphasizes the importance of uncomfortable conversations and embracing discomfort. He mentions that podcasts like the one he is on aim to open up the worldview of the audience by just 10%. The goal is not necessarily to make the audience agree with him, but to understand different perspectives. By having conversations with individuals from different viewpoints, a better understanding of issues can be achieved. The conversation delves into how social media has turned everyone into celebrities with their own followings and audiences. Josh points out that social media has created a culture where individuals feel the need to have public opinions on every issue, even if they lack the time or knowledge to fully understand them. This constant need to broadcast opinions can lead to shallow and uninformed viewpoints being shared publicly. Josh discusses the importance of being mindful of the statements made in public, as they can have long-term consequences. He mentions how individuals should be cautious about the opinions they express, as those opinions may come back to haunt them in the future. He highlights the need for individuals to think before speaking in public and to be aware that their views may evolve over time. The conversation touches on the idea of learning from past mistakes without overreacting or drawing the wrong conclusions. Josh gives examples of individuals who may have experienced trauma or made errors in the past and are now overcompensating by taking extreme positions. He emphasizes the importance of treating each situation rationally and not allowing past mistakes to dictate future actions. Josh discusses how social media has contributed to the resurgence of tribal identities and the loss of individualism. He mentions how people are increasingly identifying with specific tribes or roles, which can limit their ability to think independently. He advocates for avoiding falling into rigid tribal identities and instead embracing individualism and critical thinking. Josh shares his experience of being interviewed by a person who seemed to be more focused on their identity as a woman of color rather than engaging in a meaningful conversation. He expresses his frustration with the tendency for people to adopt rigid identities and engage in identity politics rather than having open and rational discussions. Josh emphasizes the importance of treating each other as human beings rather than as representatives of specific identity groups. The conversation touches on the phenomenon of cancel culture and outrage archaeology, where individuals are held accountable for past statements or actions. Josh highlights the need for forgiveness and understanding, both for others and for oneself. He emphasizes the importance of not being overly harsh on individuals for past mistakes and allowing room for growth and evolution of opinions. Josh provides an overview of the voice referendum in Australia, which aimed to create a body that would represent the voices of First Nations people in legislative matters. He explains the historical context of the relationship between the British Empire and Australian Aboriginals and the challenges faced by Indigenous communities. The referendum ultimately failed due to concerns about embedding the body in the Constitution and the lack of clarity on its implementation. Josh discusses Australia's immigration policies, highlighting the country's high rates of immigration and successful multiculturalism. He acknowledges the importance of having control over borders and ensuring a selection criterion for immigrants. He also touches on the issue of illegal immigration and the government's approach to deterring unauthorized arrivals. He emphasizes the need for a balance between welcoming multiculturalism and promoting integration into mainstream society. Josh raises concerns about the growing influence of artificial intelligence in society. He predicts a future where individuals will interact with virtual assistants for various tasks, including legal and financial advice. He warns about the psychological impact of constantly engaging with AI and the potential consequences of relying on personalized news feeds and information sources controlled by algorithms.